Hi everyone and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Helder.
And my name is Hendrik. Hey.
Hey, so we're here today to speak about how to connect SAP and Salesforce.com in a seamless way and why you should do it. Let's start first with the agenda. Hendrik, what do we have today?
Today we have a divided webinar in three parts. First part is we are going to talk about why we want to integrate SAP and Salesforce and what benefit this will bring us and to all you viewers. The second part is about the architecture and technical approach of unifying, integrating those two systems in one platform. And the third part is we're gonna show you a process-driven user experience by integrating those two systems in one platform. And we're going to show you this with our own approach.
Exactly, and we show you in practice how we, Neptune, embody the tools that we make by actually using those tools to run our business as well. So that's kind of the target here. But first of all, we're going to go through who we are as a company. So we are a Norwegian software firm. So I'm at the HQ in Oslo, Norway. And we have 5 offices worldwide and a total footprint in the market of 550 different businesses, companies that are our customers. And these companies are in 41 countries with a total user base of 2.5 million end users. So that's quite relevant, also particularly because Neptune is also on the Gartner Magic Quadrant for multi-experience development platform, where we are there together with 16 other vendors. Some of these vendors are some of the biggest software companies in the world, and it's a very relevant Magic Quadrant because it really shows where the market wants to go in terms of application development. So we're not just speaking about applications towards be used on web or to be used on mobile. We're speaking about conversational AI, we're speaking about wearables, IoT, all of those different things that a lot of companies are exploring in order to get more competitive into the market. So speaking of being competitive, the two biggest softwares being used both for ERP and for CRM are SAP and Salesforce.com. So a lot of companies run these, and why are them relevant is because they are part of the IT landscape of many, many different companies in the world. Statistics say that at any given point, 70% of the overall transactions in the world will go through an SAP system. So that shows the case of how much this ERP is actually intertwined into the fabric of enterprise, and they are also the baseline on which companies leverage to be more competitive, to be able to innovate, to be able to provide their workforce with tools that can take an end-to-end process. And those processes actually, most of the times, they go through logistics to sales and to marketing, and that has different touch points. It goes touch points to ERP, touch points to Salesforce.com or to CRM, in this case Salesforce.com. And therefore, a lot of companies want to leverage on the investment they already did in this kind of systems in order to become more competitive. So that means that companies have as a goal to maximize the return on investment they have on these systems. They typically don't want to do major changes or major reinvestments into their IT landscape on these systems in order to be able to make more use of it, to simplify the user interface. They want to be able to do more with less clicks or do more with less buttons to be pressed. So less actions from the user to maximize the effect. So, but at the same time, they have as a goal to be secure and compliant with their policies, with two-factor authentications, everything being role-based. And they want to implement also something which is by simplifying the UI, reducing the number of clicks, they also require, therefore, to make it in a way that this is transparent across web or mobile or whatever the end user is consuming this enterprise resources from. This requires the ability to deliver this in all of these responsive manners. So the build once, consume it anywhere is kind of a key aspect here. Also, the fact that you can provide true mobility with offline capabilities, with progressive web applications for white collar workers, with hybrid applications, mobile applications for blue collar workers, make it very difficult for companies to be able to encompass all of this within one delivery. And that's kind of the challenge that Neptune took, and that's how our go-to-market message is, that you can build in a rapid application fashion, rapid application development fashion. You can build applications and run them on all of these devices and on a build once, consume it anywhere kind of setup. But you do it, for example, by using the setup that you can see here on the slide on the right hand side. So the end user authenticates to the IDP of reference. For example, a lot of people are using today Azure AD or Office 365 as their login, and then the ability to then authenticate to SAP in the right way with SAP principal propagation, and then with Salesforce.com with OAuth 2 makes it quite the setup that you need to have. Well, by adding Neptune there in the middle, we're able to very easily handle both the authentications towards the IDPs, either being SAML, LDAP, JSON Web Tokens, OAuth 2.0, or Azure AD, for example. And then, whenever connecting to the systems of record, either being SAP, Salesforce.com, or any other, to be able to then use the API authenticator there. So it's quite important that this setup is well made, and we can do it in a very simple way. So if we just look at how to integrate with SAP, a lot of companies have the challenge to how is the best way to integrate with SAP. Primarily, there are three ways to integrate with SAP, either through iDocs, RFC connections, or using OData. So Neptune introduces a fourth one, which is REST APIs. And why REST APIs? REST APIs are one of the most used protocols there are. And by using this protocol, the ability that we have is that you're able to integrate with SAP on an API first basis to the business layer of SAP, not to the data, because the data is fundamentally very simple, but that's not the fact here. The fact that you can connect to the business objects of SAP, all the artifacts, all of the customization, all of the announcements that the customer has already done into the system, that's what makes it really a bulletproof kind of setup and a future-proof setup as well. So Neptune has the ability to build a REST API layer around SAP, connecting to all the artifacts, either being function modules, ABAP classes, SQLs, etc. And the ability then to expose an API discovery service where other systems can just query SAP and have a role-based access to the APIs. And therefore, you're able to reuse the investment you've done in security and on the setup of your roles and authorizations directly on SAP, and then take that for not just the GUI usage, not just the ABAP usage, not just the applicational usage, but also for the integration purpose in this case. Speaking primarily on the REST APIs, why this is so relevant is because Neptune can fully automate the generation of the REST API on top of any customer standard artifact. And that's quite relevant when you have to usually have an overhead in terms of integrating with SAP, building RFC-enabled function modules if you want custom stuff, and then configuring web services, or if you want to go through iDoc, activating, making sure that all the segments are there that you need, etc. So there is a process to be done here. So Neptune highly simplifies this by fully automating this, and on top providing open API specification. This is quite relevant then when you want to just import this API into your front-end development or to your integration and directly consume it using the OpenAPI description of it. Then also very important is that our APIs are up to 10 times faster than using OData. And this is primarily by the way that our module is not integrated with SAP, is running inside SAP. We have that ability to provide high performance integration with SAP. That is not so only 10 times faster, but 3 times lighter on the payload. So the same amount of payload can actually run 10 times faster and 3 times lighter. And also that the API can be not only stateless, like any typical REST API would be, but also stateful, keeping the session of the end user alive between calls, therefore leveraging on caching, leveraging on data locking, using the SAP data locking mechanism. So everything using what's best of SAP outside of SAP. So just a quick recap. So you have the ability to build a non-automated REST API and also building a fully automated REST API. So if we now look at the system to show you how can we do a non-automated REST API, is that if we just go here to our browser and open Neptune Planet 8 module, and go to the API designer. Here on the API designer, we're able to very simply just click on the API So I can come in here into the API designer and very easily just go in here into the API designer, and by opening it I'll see that there is here a data provider class. What is a data provider class? It's just a ABAP class that implements an interface from Neptune. After that you can set up directly in here the operations that point to a specific ABAP method, and this ABAP method is one of the methods that are available directly from the API, from the ABAP class, and then say what kind of requests, parameters do you want, and what kind of responses of the public attributes of that ABAP class do you want. And after that, we generate Swagger 2.0 and 3.0 out of the box, so Open API specification directly. So this can be imported directly into your front-end development environment or integration environment. In terms of the fully automated API, is that we have the ability not to necessarily have to build an ABAP class. I can just plug in directly without adding the interface to the ABAP class and automatically generate the API specification without having to configure it, and also the Open API. Let's see how that is in practice. So let's go into our environment and go into our API factory. So Neptune ships multiple methods to run the API factory, being one of them function modules. So here you can run function modules that are not even RFC enabled. And by going in here, I can just search, for example, for BAPI sales order create. I can see here all those BAPIs, select one of them, execute, go to Swagger. Now this what it's doing now is generating on the fly the API interface and is making it be accessible to me as an end user via Swagger UI. So the Open API interface allows to not only extract from the SAP environment all the documentation for this API, for this function module in this case. As you can see, it's based on the URL, but also all of the examples, all of the specification that is required to actually interact with this REST API. So we can see that the API is documented coming from the standard, and also I can execute, obviously, I can execute I can even perform a call, a BAPI transaction commit, and I can even provide the Open API interface with examples that are coming directly from the examples that I can record as an ABAP developer on AC37. So it becomes very simple to just document to the integration layer or towards the front-end development how this BAPI should be used, how this REST API should be used, and therefore at the same time produce the Swagger UI on top of it in a very straightforward and easy manner. All of which can be then secure by using policies. So again, roles access directly to the APIs, both from the APIs that are fully front-end generated or not. Also, we can automate the UI side for ILV reports, which highly simplifies as well the usability of this. So going here to the Launchpad, opening here a Launchpad, and when I click here on open this report, this will go to the selection screen of the report. And I have an output, but how does this is configured is that here on the tile, so if I'm navigating over all the way to the tile, I'm gonna have here a configuration for the action that says ABAP report with that specific standard report, and this is valid for customer standard reports in SAP, doesn't matter. And I just change this, so if I just refresh it, it will automatically provides me now the selection screen with search helps, with documentation, with layout screen variants, and of course the execution with the ability to sort, group, or filter the columns, to change visibility of the columns and export to Excel. All of which in a responsive UI. So if I go in here and make it responsive, you can see its selection screen is responsive, and this is from an ALV report. So in a way, automation of APIs with automation of UIs directly done. But also, how does this actually work is that the ABAP class becomes a API endpoint, so the class becomes an endpoint of the methods operations on the non-automated one, and the fully automated one, all the function modules, search helps, SQL statements, ALV reports become automatically an API, and for ALV reports, also the UI. So that's kind of important and interesting to show. Also, how does this then combines to Salesforce.com? We're going to see that now is that we can use the REST APIs or OData coming from SAP, and then use the REST APIs from Salesforce.com, and then unify that. But Hendrik, can you take us through the architecture and the approach on this?
Well, thank you, Helder. Now that we know how to use the best of SAP outside SAP, let's have a look how we integrate other systems into one platform. So in this approach, we see on the slides three different type of backends. We have the SAP ERP or SAP S/4HANA backend with the Neptune DXP SAP edition on top. And also we have cloud solutions, in this case Salesforce. And there are also third-party backends like Microsoft Dynamics or Power BI or something like that. And we want to integrate them all into one launchpad or dashboard, as you want, for our users to have a single point of entry in a browser, a mobile client, or even in a progressive web app. So we use the Neptune DXP Open Edition as the provider for this launchpad and those apps. And what we do is we can integrate directly the Neptune apps from the SAP edition directly into this launchpad. So there's no migration or anything needed. You can just directly open them on the Open Edition, the same way as we also can integrate the APIs that we are providing on the SAP system. So, and how does that work? We use the SAP principal propagation for mapping the Open Edition users to our SAP users. And we also can integrate the APIs or apps from Salesforce into that launchpad, or even creating apps that integrate data from Salesforce and SAP into one application that is provided in the Open Edition launchpad. And
or,
if you
or
want,
even we can actually also put in APIs from ACP, either OData or REST API,
Exactly.
and APIs from Salesforce, and combine it into new APIs, and that provide that to the experience layer where we're going to build the actual application on top of this composed API. So you can mix and match, or you can just put two APIs from two origins, one app. You can put the Planet 8 app running with a Planet 9 app running in the same launchpad, so you can multiple combinations here, right?
Right. So yeah, let's see how we integrate the Salesforce into our Neptune DXP. So there's one way, which is using the REST API of Salesforce in our Neptune DXP, and we saw the API designer already for composing APIs to the outer, the non-SAP world. So Heather, let's have a look. How does it work to integrate an Salesforce REST API into our DXP?
Yeah, so first of all, let's start here on the API designer. On the API designer, on Planet 9 module, you have on the Open Edition module, you have here the ability to just import an API by using Swagger 2.0 or an API Discover service. In this case, we used imported manually, so we're creating that. And then per operation, you have here all the operations that the Salesforce API provides, with all the objects, with all of the definitions, with definitions that can have and come any kind of object, and you can embed objects in objects. So it's quite easy and straightforward. You can apply authentication directly to it. In this case, it's OAuth 2 authentication that is being used, and this can then be directly taken to the application designer as any other kind of application. From the ACP side, we also have the ability to have directly APIs from here that are coming from ACP with the responses, everything that has as an endpoint an ACP environment, and again putting the authentication directly connected to it. So straightforward kind of setup, and then basically we treat them the same way APIs coming from ACP and not coming from Salesforce, and then you can unify on the front end. But there is a second way, right?
Yes, there's a second way, and this way is in this way we use an NPM module called JSForce. So in Planet 9, in the Open Edition of the Neptune Digital Experience Platform, you can easily and directly integrate NPM modules, because the Open Edition is built on Node.js. So let's see how this is done.
Okay, so basically inside Planet 9 we have the ability, the pro code capability of building a server script. Server script is a script that runs on the server, like the numbers say. But this script can be exposed to applications, can be exposed to the no-code RPA tool, the process orchestration tool, or workflow, and also be delivered to as an API in itself, as an operation of an API. So if you go in here, what we're doing is that we're on this script, we have the ability on the context here on the left hand side, we have all the APIs that we are using, and then we have also the ability to install directly in here Node.js and PN modules so that we can connect directly to it and use it as a context of our script. And that's what I did. I have here JS Force as a context, then I'm instantiating here, and then I'm further using this JS Force to actually reach the Salesforce environment. In this case, I'm reading and updating as well, so bidirectional. And then you can use this in combination with for example, an API and an operation of an API that's coming from whatever source. So in this case, this is with the case where you are creating a composed API, because this server script can then be on the same API designer, be exposed simply as an actual operation of an API. And the configuration is done manually. You say what you're receiving, what you expect on the response. You can import directly here the definition types, etc., so on and so forth. So it becomes quite easy and straightforward to create your own APIs and further secure them, creating authentication, making it role-based, open API on top of it as well. And then this can then be used inside, again, workflows if you want to, or application development, or purely for integration purposes.
Wow. Well, yeah, then let's come to our next point, the third point of this webinar, the process-driven user experience. So let's see how we as Neptune software use this, all that we saw today. So this is our sales launchpad. And how this works, or how we interact with our launchpad, is that first we log on with Microsoft Azure, the Azure AD authentication. So with this, we type in our Microsoft credentials, and then we are connected to all the backend systems that we are using. For example, our SAP S/4HANA ERP system, where we get all our sales processes, and also the Salesforce with lead informations, contact informations, and of course the accounts that we want to use in the launchpad. And also we are using Acton for marketing automation tools inside this launchpad. And how we use this one is for us as Neptune employees, we run it as a progressive web app. So, Helder, let's see it.
So, first of all, as a progressive web application, it means that you can actually use it inside the desktop as well in offline. So I have here my user already logged in, but I'm going to do something better. I'm actually going to start from scratch. So here I'm going to use my Azure AD authentication as an end user. I can pick that, and I'm prompting with my cookie that I have on my browser, because fundamentally this is a progressive web application that is installed on my laptop. I can then automatically add PIN codes, so that I don't need to do that every single time. I just have a PIN code, and automatically I will have here I'm going to put this in full view. So I have here our key data, and for example, I'm going here into all my customer lists. But now to showcase how this is easy, I'm going over to my browser. I'm going to salesforce.com and going in here into a customer, and I'm going to add here a new contact. And because Mr. Maradona, and lead source other, save, and that's there. So if I now go to my ACP on my Neptune launchpad, if I open here that same customer, I'll have here not only the data that's coming out of SAP, so my contracts, my quotations, my address, etc., but I will have here my contacts. As you can see, it's here, and this is coming from Salesforce. I can add it, so it's bidirectional. I can add new ones, remove new ones. So it's really a very fluid situation. But we provide basically the ability for our salespeople to manage our customers in a 360 view. So regardless of the different touch points, so they never log into SAP, they never log into Salesforce.com. They just use our Launchpad as such, and the Launchpad itself has also other capabilities with like time registration, hours, and you can even have shortcuts for the Fiori Launchpad, because we also use S4HANA as our backend. So if there's an application that work for us, and there's quite a few of these applications that work for us, we just embed that into the Launchpad. So we use the standard apps as well. So makes it quite straightforward to be done. In terms of this, is there questions that you might have? You can post your questions at the end of the session. We'll be glad to answer them. Also, another case that we have here is the Neptune Accounts portal. So if you have been downloading our software, or if you're a partner of ours, a customer of ours, you probably have accessed this already. So the Neptune Accounts portal is the point of entry to perform actions on Neptune. So if you're a customer or a partner, you'll be able to see from SAP all of your quotations, your sales order, your invoices, your contracts directly with us. If you're a developer, you can use the mobile build service that is free for all customers and partners, where you can actually build a hybrid application using our automated build process. Or you can access our portfolio of collaterals with presentations, with the evaluation guide. So there is a lot of functionality into the portal, but also something that really works is how do you onboard the actual users, you as the user, is that you can self-register in this case, or if you are a developer already on our Neptune community, you can just click Neptune community. This uses OAuth 2.0 to log in, but fundamentally you're gonna get to basically a portal where you have embedded in a seamless way data coming from S4, the mobile build service coming from Vault Builder, and we're even using APIs from Microsoft Azure so that we can create an environment on demand directly. So it's a self-service creation of environments of our Planet 9 module, our open edition. You can create, and we do the hosting for you. You have a hosting cost calculator to see how much that will cost to you and to your business to run it. And also, of course, Salesforce.com integration, because we're crossing and collecting the data of what are your interactions with Neptune as a whole. So it's a seamless experience that is also API driven. And this case is bigger, much bigger than just SAP or Salesforce, but it's again a new way of how things work. And how this looks like in the end is that you have a portal that is role-based, has a seamless experience. And for example, you connect to SAP, this connects to the mobile build service. So with a completely different look and feel, and to the automated service, you can go into our resources and check evaluation guides on, for example, integration, and you can read a lot about it, exactly how Neptune handles it. Or you can go into many other things in here, such as customer success sheets, case studies. All of it is available. This is coming from a Azure blob. So it's easy and straightforward for you as an end user to consume it, and abstracting completely where the data is actually coming from. So given this and having this in consideration, is that it's very simple to unify on an API basis, even in two ways with Salesforce.com, making it very straightforward. Right, Hendrik?
Yes, absolutely.
So that's it for today. Please place your questions and here on the chat, and you'll be able to answer those questions. We'll post it on the community as well as you're gonna be answered directly. If you have any more questions, please reach out to us on the community, and we'll be happy to speak with you.
Yeah, thank you for joining us today, and well, have a good day. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.